Hello, I'm Isaac Way, and this video is rows are for everyone. Similar to push-ups, the basic body weight row is the starting calisthenics horizontal pulling exercise, which anyone may do unless they have elbow, wrist, or shoulder pain or injury. This video is going to show people how to progress using bands, angles, ranges of motion, additional resistance via weight, and points of contact. So we're going to move right into form from here. Stay tuned and watch all the way till the end for all of the progressions. With the row being the primary horizontal pulling motion, we want to use our major back muscles, including our lats and our shoulder musculature here, not necessarily our traps, and we definitely don't want to load our anterior shoulder. So normally when we're in a row, it's going to be pulling our shoulder out in front of us, which is protraction, and to pull it back, we're going to retract it, which is pulling our shoulder blade back, and down, which is depression. So our ending position in a row wants to be depression and retraction. We can't allow our shoulder to go out in front though, as long as we get it down and back in the bottom position. What we want to avoid is internal rotation of our shoulder, which leads to anterior shoulder loading, and that looks like this, right? I pivot my shoulder down and my trap comes up, and I put a lot of tension here, which is the opposite of pulling my shoulder blade down and back, and then pulling back, my wrist following my elbow, loading my lats, my back. So again, from another angle, I'm going to be rotating my shoulder like this, popping it forward. That's what we don't want to do. That's this load, down and back. And even if we allow it to go forward and front here to get that nice lat stretch, as long as we keep that down and back in the final position as we pull back, we are good to go. If we don't have a suspension system hanging from a bar or another anchor, some resistance bands either on a door frame stop or a pole is a good way to start a rowing exercise. So coming into a staggered stance, we're going to let our shoulders come forward, pull them down and back as we fire back. And then we're just different band variation, same thing here, staggered stance, arms out, and you have your elbows follow the wrist as we pull back. So those are very basic starting progressions that pretty much anyone can do regardless of age or weight. And the door frame anchor is a very useful item to use to get some very basic beginner rows in. Rowing progressions for anyone, regardless of age or weight, will start at a high angle where we can perform at least 8+ repetitions, and we'll be building that up to 10, 15 to 20 repetitions for 2 to 3 sets with a 60 to 90 second break, and we'll perform that 2 to 3 non-consecutive days a week. So if we have a hard time doing a full range of motion to start, which is pulling your shoulder blades all the way down and back, pushing your chest forward and pulling your hands all the way back to your body, if those elbows coming back, we can start a limited range, right? The hand's not quite making it to me, but we can get those repetitions built up there. We can get the repetitions built up to a greater range of motion, and then to make it more challenging, we can actually just change and lower the angle down. So this row here, you can do some limited range of motions to start and then increase that range of motion. Build up those repetitions, adding 1 or 2 to your count each day as a form of progression. And that is the most basic starting suspension row that may be used on a suspension trainer rings or even a bar, which I'll show next. Likewise, when using a bar for progression, we're going to be pulling into a fixed object. So your range of motion will be making contact with your lower chest or upper abdominals for your goal. All right, build up those repetitions. You can also build up different grips. We can do an overhand pronated grip. You can also do an underhand grip. Get a little more bicep work in there. When we're rowing, we pull up quickly in the concentric motion and then spend more time lowering in the eccentric. We're going to make it more challenging. And that's also a good way to progress without lowering the bar. And we can't do that. That's what we're going to do next. With the bar getting lower, I like to find a position where we can do a bridge row, which is when we can hold onto the bar and have our back be in contact with the ground. And the first thing we're going to do is take in a breath, push through your heels and squeeze your glutes. Pull up and breathe out on your way down. We can touch back down when we're starting. Hips back up. Pull through, lower down in control. Hips back down. Take in a breath. Hips up, pull up quickly. Lower down in control. Hips back down. Starting progression from here is keeping your hips off the ground, right? So our back will be loaded the entire time. So hips up, pull up, lower down. Don't touch down this time. Fire back up, lower down, fire back up, lower down. So that is a very good progression from an angled row. And progression from here, maybe adding weight to your bridge row. So in this position, taking a breath, hips up, or pull up, lower back down. If your weight just happens to be up a little bit higher, you're gonna restrict your range of motion a little bit. That's a good way to progress. Just make contact, lower back down. You can get a little extra range of motion using a smaller weight that you can put on your core better. Doesn't really get in the way of you pulling up and lowering back down. That's a great way to progress with additional resistance before we make it more challenging. We can also make rows more challenging by doing single arm variations. When we're starting this, we can pull up and let go of one arm for a negative. We can alternate sides when we're learning the pattern. Or we can focus when we get better on doing one arm rows. You also even rotate for a little additional stretch. Pull yourself in and have the opposite side of your chest come up for that full range of motion. Check that out on the other side. Coming back at an angle. Pull up. That allows our lat to stretch in the top position. Get even more from it. Likewise, we can also bring our feet in closer to make it more challenging. Put that point of focus narrower, and then we can do one arm. Is going to make it a lot harder because your body is going to want to shift away and pull back into it. Right? Your body is going to want to shift away when you have your feet close together. You're going to pull back into it. So those are great ways to make rows more challenging as well. Another row progression is elevating our feet, putting more tension in our posterior legs, glutes, and low back. So that's going to look like that same bridge row, and now we're going to push through to come up. Fire up with the upper body and come on back down. So you're going to be actively pushing through your heels, keeping your legs tense as we drive up. Bring those feet close together. Pull through. We can combine methods for a more challenging row, such as raising feet, placing a weight on my core, and using a suspension trainer in a parallel to floor position. You can add negatives to this, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, followed by a fast concentric. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's good ways to progress.
depending on what we have available, and to increase the load on our upper body even more, we may even place a resistance band out in front of us or anchor to the top and then wrap around our feet to transfer more weight to your upper body and make a more challenging row. Regardless of which methods we use, we're looking to have progressive overload to challenge and make things better. Regardless of what methods are used, we're looking to advance using progressive overload. We can start off using bands, higher angles, reduce to full ranges of motion, focusing on eccentrics and explosive concentric motions. We can add weight to our stomach. We can do one arm rows, one leg rows, and we can even place bands on our legs to adjust the weight, and even move into a front lever pull, which should be a much more complicated, far more advanced row. But amongst all these options, there's lots of choices that we may also combine for the best results. Thanks for watching.